So today's episode is about what is outer and also what is inner self. Also again, if let's say you are new in this space, my name is Risa and I do share about spirituality but in a very everyday life manner. And then what do I like to do is to constantly supporting people to help them to break free from their limiting beliefs even on their daily life, and through different kind of tools and techniques. And so that is basically what I do. And then so today basically we are talking about what is outer self and what is inner self, and then what is what is the differences, what's the difference between outer and inner self. Okay, so this part I'm gonna bring in a little bit of element of Code of Soul, which is a numerology that I'm teaching. We often use two birthday. One that is on our birth cert is actually the Gregorian calendar, and then the one that which is the Nongli calendar one, that one is under lunar calendar. So that is where we have both we basically everyone a bit like we have two kind of birth dates, right? Our birth date that is on our birth cert represents our outer self. That is a little bit like how do we interact with the society. Like for example, society can be your friends, your colleagues, or like even strangers. And then basically the Gregorian calendar also represents your thoughts, the more on the rational side of it. So it's also about the logic sense, like the logic part, the rational part, and then including your thought, and then why your behavior is in such a way, and then maybe what is the cause of it. So that is the Gregorian part of our calendar. It also shows about it's also about the outer self, where maybe how are we being brought up in the society, how the educational part, how peer pressure, or how peers, how environment has shaped us as who we are, or how do we react in that way. And also it could also be it also can be like maybe the appearance side, like maybe how do we think we should look like on the outer part. So that is very much in the outer part, including maybe how do we respond or how do we react to the person, or maybe money issue, or in work, or what kind of characteristic that we must carry on at work, or even with client and things like that. So that is very much in terms of the outer part. The lunar calendar, that would represents our inner part. So that the inner part actually very much represents our emotional body, and then it also represents our emotions, and it also represents the actions that we take, as well as what is the results being caused. The outer part of it is like the cause of it, and then the inner part is like the results of it. So when we talk about emotional body, right, in our inner self, it's very much about what is the condition inside with our inner self, with the inner part of it. So for example, it could be the inner relationship between we and ourselves, between me and myself. It can be, how we talk about emotion or limiting beliefs, or maybe a certain belief system. That is very much in terms of your inner condition or your inner emotion. So how do you see yourself? How do you build a strong relationship with yourself? How do you give yourself safety? So that is very much in terms of your inner self. And then it also can be the relationship with your inner family. So inner family and the family that we grew up, that is a little bit differences. The inner family part is a little bit like, if let's say I don't feel safe as an adult, how can I reparent the inner child inside of me? Or if let's say I want to express my emotion as a person, myself, how am I gonna give myself that space, that safe space for me to be safe, to be expressing my emotions safely? So there is a little bit differences in terms of inner family, because you are your own inner family, you are your own inner parent, you are also your inner child. So that is one part of it. And then the inner part of ourselves also shows what is the patterns of our actions. So for example, if let's say in your everyday life you do notice there's a little bit patterns in terms of your certain actions. So it can be, for example, maybe a certain words that may often trigger you, or maybe a word from someone else that will often trigger a certain emotions of you. So that is something that is related to your inner self, and that is where we will start to help to build up. So that's the differences, or that is one of the guidance that you are able to, that you can see for yourself easier, in a way that, okay, which is my outer self, which is my inner self. So it's actually able to see on your birth chart, in terms of the birth date that is on your birth cert, and the other birth date that is on your lunar calendar. If let's say we only have our birth date that is on our birth cert, how do we know our lunar calendar? Do we need to, like, find our parents, find this? No, you can always Google it. So basically you just write your year, month, and day, and then behind there you just write lunar calendar. Basically Google popped up the exact date for you. So the Gregorian calendar, or the outer self, is also very much related to the yang energy, which is the masculine energy. And then our lunar calendar is very much in terms of our yin energy, which is the feminine energy. We are entering into an era of two. So you realize that now we are entering like 2024, and ever since that we started to enter 2000 and 2010, and then 2020 and goes on, we are actually moving to an era that is balanced. So two, you realize that we're actually entering the era of two. So two is actually an energy of balance, and this balance is very much in terms of balancing what that was used to overdevelop. So before this, if you notice that we are not in a very good space to express our emotion, or we are often being if you heard the previous episode, you hear me mentioning that we are so good in terms of suppressing our emotion. We are being trained so well in this that it's very hard to express emotion, but we are very good in terms of analyzing. We are very good in being rational. We are very good in suppressing all these kind of things. So this is actually a very masculine energy that we know we have to be very strong. We have to be like be number one. That we cannot let other people to see our weakness. We have to be firm and things like that. So it's not good. It's just that we have overly developed this energy, where it's a bit like, if let's say we talk about ratio, this one is a bit too high. So now we are actually building up the yin energy, which is our inner self, which is our inner strength, so that it goes up, and then it could help to balance what has been overdeveloped from here. The inner strength, or the inner self, is very much like just now when I mentioned that it's a lot about your emotion, it's a lot about your action, it's also about what is forming, what is coming out, what is the result of it. So it's all related to emotional body. So one of the things that I like to do when it comes to building inner strength, or how can I tap into my inner self. So one of the things that, with such a fast-paced technology, right, our attention will often goes to other people, which is the external part, the outer part. So this entire outer environment will actually lead to us wanting to change, but is not for the safety of ours, it's not in our favor, but it's very much in terms of I don't feel safe. If I have that thing, if I had what other people have, then I'll feel safe. Like for example, with all this social media that everyone is showing their own success story, it was supposed to be inspirational, but because sometimes they are too successful, people will start to feel that okay, I must have that thing in order. So if I have that thing, if I have that success, then I will be okay, or I will feel that power within myself. So that is very outer part. That is very external part. That is very outer part of it. So one of the things is that you have to learn to reclaim your attention back to yourself. So if your inner strength, your own power is when you reclaim it back to yourself. You don't. Your own success is where you determine yourself. I know how our parents or how the entire environment determine how success should be, or they used to determine, or they used to define how success is. So for example, it could be like you must have a property, you must have a home, you must have a car, you must have da da da, if not you cannot survive, or you cannot do a lot of things. So these are the things, or these are the misconceptions that a lot of people has been putting into our mind or influence our mind, where this, so that our attention is always constantly being an external environment or the layer. So how can I not being so easily influenced by the external, or how can I change, or how can I make changes, especially at least this inner self of mine, at least this inside of me, that I'll feel safe, that I will not be affected so easily, or at least no matter where I am, even though that I'm stressed, I am able to adapt to it. Like, it's okay to feel stressed, and it's okay to feel angry, and it's okay to feel sad, but how can I adapt to it? How can I learn to be flexible enough to manage my emotion? Which I think a lot of people need to learn that part, or relearn it again. So one of the things that I always really like to tell, whether it's my client, students, or anyone that I see, is that all your emotions, or all your emotions are actually meant to be inside of you, and all your emotions are actually valid. However that you feel is valid. You have the rights to feel angry, you have the rights to feel sad, you have the rights to feel however that you feel, and it's totally okay. So you don't have to force yourself that, I must be positive all the time, I must think positive all the time, I must think positive in order to get what I want. Sometimes manifestation, or if you want to achieve your goals, it doesn't mean that you just by thinking positively, it may not be the way, because by thinking positively without feeling that positivity, is like just saying it but you're not really feeling it. You're kind of like bypassing, like there is this blind spot that you need to see. Okay, why am I feeling so angry? But instead of like expressing the anger, I'm skipping it away, and then I'm just covering with something happy. For some people, yes, this may work, but for some people, it may not work. Until you hit the point that you realize that the very first thing when it comes to building a very strong connection with you, yourself, and your inner self, is that you have to be very, very honest with yourself. Being honest with yourself, meaning that emotion-wise, yes, you need to be very honest. Second thing, what I would also like to tell whether it's whoever that I meet, including being honest, is that whatever beliefs that you have, it's okay to be honest. So for example, if let's say I have this fear in terms of like staying at home, I have this fear because every time when I stay at home for too long, then I may think too much. I may have like all these thoughts that are coming around here and there. So that is my fear, and that is something that I will tell people honestly. So Like, for example, if let's say that I'm so scared of this, then I'll just take a walk. And then if it's okay to be honest about what you're fearful of, and it's okay to be honest to one of the things that this part is one of the things that I like to tell people, is that I think people don't really do this much, is that it's okay to be honest by embracing what you're good at least from the era that I grew up with, is that you need to be very humble, like not to show off about your skills, not to show off about what you're good at, not to show off about, what you know of. But to be honest, even until now, what I'm good at or what I know is actually my asset. And it's actually one of my highest value asset. It's actually the things that I know even in my daily life. Like, for example, if let's say in my daily life I do feel like shit, I do have my own steps, I do have my own thing, or I do know what can I do for myself. Whether is it in a fast pace or in a slow pace, I know what to do, and I know in terms of this clarity. But I think in terms of, at least for me, from the era that I'm growing up, I'm 90s by the way, so if let's say you're younger, I'm not too sure if this resonates. If you're older, I'm also not too sure if it resonates. But if it resonates, then probably thank you. Probably this is something that could help to give you a little bit of boost. Is that, one of the things that we are being trained is that you need to be seen with what you're good at, but at the same time not to be seen. At the same time, you gotta be humble. But to be at the same time, if let's say, people always say that, okay, everyone is different, you are unique, blah blah blah. But at the same time, people will say that you cannot be too weird, if not you got no friends. Like, you get what I mean? It's our growing up entire flow is such a contradicting life that we are actually moving ourselves into a very main flow. So one of the things that I would definitely encourage is that always find out what you're good at, or what is the new aspect, or what is it inside yourself that you love about yourself, or what is inside of you that you find yourself good at, and really embrace that and really embody that. I do meet a lot of people that would think that they are very weird in a sense, or they may be different, but at the same time this can be very lonely. Something about loneliness does trigger a kind of emotion within ourselves. When we talk about loneliness, it could trigger abandonment, it could trigger forgotten, it could trigger all kinds of different kind of emotions. But this loneliness sometimes is something that we need to give ourselves to see what is our potential. So what is our potential? It can be other things. It can be as simple as, for me, a lot of people like to say that I'm very good in terms of talking. I'm very good in terms of speaking. I think I am, but what I'm very good at that other people don't see, but I see, is that I'm able to see a root cause of what happened behind an emotion. So, for example, a client comes and tells me a story or an encounter, I'm able to straight away look into what is the root cause, or what is at least the first layer of the root cause that needs to be settled instead of the surface layer. So that is something that I know that I can, but a lot of people like to see that I'm very good in terms of communicating and I'm very good in terms of talking. So, and sometimes this talking and communication skills is like, people would think that it's a potential, but actually potential can be as simple as exercising can be a potential. Even like picking up spots is also a potential. Like picking up spots easier than other people is also a potential. Being able to get up from from maybe from a deep shit and all, being able to get yourself back up from your emotion cycle is also potential. So to be honest, potential doesn't really have to be a very big hoo-ha on how other people or how the society has story us for so many years. So one of the things that I will also tell people is that how do we actually align what we think and our action, which is how do we align our outer self and also our inner self. So this two needs to be aligned as an integration, as one, as a whole. Then it's easier for you to do things so that you're not so easily like, okay, why do I think of this and then my action is a different thing. So one of the things, to be honest, is still going back to your self-awareness in your everyday life, and also find ways to increase a certain happy hormone. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's dopamine. Or man, yeah, I think it's dopamine if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, but okay, that one, please go Google. But yeah, find things or find any kind of activities that will help, that for you, that is really for you, that is really suitable to help you to increase that joy inside of you. So it could be a hobby of yours. So for example, like mine is very simple. Whenever I don't feel good, I'll just go out for a walk at the park or near the nature. So that is very simple for me, but that is something that I really like. But at the same time, that is something that would help me to create my joy, and then that will actually also help me to increase my joy. So that is one of the things. Another thing for me, okay, this is not a sponsor ad, this is not an encouragement. This is where I will, if let's say I really feel very shitty, one of the things is I will definitely go out to, whether to cafes or to bars to drink a bit. Yeah, but that is mine. That is my way. So you need to find your own way in terms of which is suitable. So for some people, they prefer to write. Some people, they prefer to dance. Some people, they prefer to go to gym, exercise. So you need to find your own way. And then the next thing of it is true consistency in terms of your practice. So for example, if let's say you found this exercise or this practice, you're able to increase that joy essence inside of you. And I'm not saying just like the outside, and I'm not saying is to get out of reality, but it's really something that would help you to be in that state of concentration and also relaxation. So when I go out to nature for a walk, I do feel relaxed. I am able to concentrate where I'm walking, but at the same time, I do feel relaxed. So there's a balanced state of it. So try and find this balanced state for yourself, and then try and maintain of it. At least you can look into week by week. So for example, 1 week you like to do 2 to 3 times, and then the following week also do 2 to 3 times, and then slowly whether you like to explore more or you like to increase the frequency of it. So do it like a practice, as if it's like your breathing. So when you breathe, it's natural, right? You don't really think too much about your breathing. But the moment when you stop breathing, then you have the awareness of it. So this is a bit different, where when you don't do it, you don't have the awareness, but when you do it, you have the awareness. So this is something that you can do for yourself. So one of the things that what I would like to recommend people in terms of the outer and inner self is to always constantly regulate your emotion. And regulating emotion, there are many different ways. So social media is still a good platform, if you ask me. I like to do it, I like to look at it in a way that helps me to at least calm my entire nervous system, by looking at Instagram more. So other platforms, sometimes I do feel a bit too much, or it may trigger a lot of anxiousness within me. So just pick one social media that you like, that doesn't trigger too much of self-sabotaging, or doesn't trigger too much of that kind of emotion, but it creates an inspirational energy for you. So when you pick a platform, you can look into it, use it to see, okay, what are the things that could help to motivate you in terms of your action, helps you to increase your awareness, help you to build your inner strength. So this is what you can also do. Another thing is you can also look up into inner child. So inner child is one of the things that I think many people are also doing it, and one of the things why inner child is also very important topic to heal, or one of the bigger topic to look into also, because as we are growing up, before we reach 7 years old, our entire nervous system is being regulated based on our parents' nervous system. But before we reach into an era of 2000, we're actually in an era of very high mode survival. It's a very high mode survival, So a lot of people have a very tense nervous system, including our parents or our grandparents. So, and the nervous system is being regulated based on survival mode. And because of this, as we are growing up now into this era where it's a lot more balanced in terms of rationality and emotional part. So this part is where we need to start to look into, or what we can do, or we deep diving into what are the root, or what are the beliefs that we have been imprinted or implanted into our system. Not asking you to confront your parents, not asking you to go back or tell your family or what you have done to me, or it's not about that kind of thing. It's also not about I'm an adult now and I don't care about my parents and I can do whatever things I want, blah blah blah. Yes, that is a lot of people, including myself. I know, we all know. But if you look in deeper, there is probably some of the things that the way we perceive things may also be triggered as we had when we were a child. Not because of that. It may be because of also the way we grow up. It also may be related to the first memory that we have. So, for example, we may also have a certain first memory about money, and this first memory may also be the same kind of pattern with our financial reality. It will be first memory about how we see intimacy relationship that could also be reflected on your current intimacy or romantic relationship. So inner child work is something like that, and it can go this deep. What I like to do with inner child work is that we are not just it's not so much about you have to do the physical work to face your parents and to change whatever that you need to change, but it's very much in terms of your inner work. So looking back in terms of what is the first memory that impacted you so much, or what is the first memory that created shock in your body. And we'll also be looking deep into what is the relationship between you and yourself, what are the beliefs. Like, for example, for me, I used to be very, very, very scared of people who seems to very highly authorized person. Even for men with a very high authority person, I'm also very scared. And to be honest, that is a very emotional reaction to me, and it's actually happened inside. Like, work-wise, it doesn't affect work quality, but it's just inside that kind of emotion that is like jumbling up, that feel like ugh. So that is something that we're gonna look into. And when I notice that I do have this kind of fear, so I will actually look into, okay, where is my system that I have this fear or this anxiety. So it's like managing adults. As a child, managing adults is a whole new different level. You have to manage their expectation, you have to manage like what they want, and as a child that is too much for me. So that kind of is like a snowball. Like last time it was like this, and then as it grows, as it rolls, it becomes bigger and bigger. So as I grow up, this fear became so much more, and that leads to not just in terms of any people that are older than me, but people who are maybe in terms of qualification they are higher than me, or maybe positioning that they are higher than me. So I'm very easily being triggered by that. So that is something that I used to have very severely, and then through some inner work and then reflection, looking at it, and then most importantly is this fear. When you hug this fear, when you hug yourself, it's okay to have this fear. Somehow, somewhere, is okay. So now even like facing people like that, I do still get anxious a little bit, but it's so much better. It's like being able to feel comfortable with whoever that you meet is actually far more important. When you're able to attune yourself into a frequency of curiosity and innocence, that is where you're gonna see life so much difference. And then yeah, so that is one of the things that we need to learn how to see. We need to learn how to break through from all this I won't say limitation, but what is your habit, what is your repeated pattern, what is that pattern that is inside of you that is constantly repeating. And once you slowly dissolve and melt down this pattern, the other things will slowly change. So these are the few things that I would like to share. And yeah, tomorrow is 8/8, and I do have clients who ask me that do we need to prepare anything. To be honest, I'm not too sure what's gonna happen in 8/8. I mean, I heard people telling me that 8/8 has this special portal that is opening up, and it's something related to astrology, I think, but that is not my forte. But it is a number. Is it? I mean, if let's say you ask me in terms of based on numbers, 8/8 basically is a number of abundance and manifestation. So when it comes to manifestation, what is the true power of it? Is your unconscious and your subconscious. So if let's say you want to make use of tomorrow, what you can also do in terms of supporting yourself is to really go deep in terms of what you need to release from your unconscious and your subconscious, and also to be really releasing it or to really embrace it so that you are able to expand your true manifestation powers. Yeah, I think that is pretty much it. So yeah, that is I know that the topic for outer and inner is very huge, but I think this is the max that I would like to share until for today. So again, if let's say you have any kind of question, feel free to just drop the message on my inbox at anywhere that you like, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or Xiaohongshu also can. See you. Thank you for your time.